We've seen the stories before of people doing whatever it takes to get high. They lie, cheat, and steal, and even offer to perform odd jobs in order to fly. We've seen these stories of drug addicts resisting arrest, refusing to come clean because being sober is not only painful, but also boring. Swarm, a psychological horror thriller, bordering on a black comedy, takes the whole drug addict theme to a different level. Swarm does this by creating a compelling character named Andrea Greene. She is a stand who slowly devolves into a serial killer. It's clear from episode 1 that Andrea, also known as Dre, has some serious issues. She's an addict, yes, but she's an addict who is addicted to an illusion. She thinks that superstar Ni Jah is larger than life, a goddess who can ease her pain and make her feel whole. The irony of all this is that the closer that Dre gets to Ni Jah, the more unhinged she becomes. Dre allows fantasies and illusions to destroy her from the inside out, clouding her judgment and keeping her from finding true love. I'm going to explain how and why in this video, so please stay tuned. Music is more than just music. In ancient times, it was used as a healing modality. The African drums were used to sync the heart with the rhythm of nature. Yodeling was used to calm nerves and ward off evil spirits. Dancing was a way of ridding the body of disease and excess toxins. And the lyrics from songs and stories transported us to a different time, a different dimension, a different plane.
You knock me off of my feet now, baby.
How many of us have listened to a song or an artist and burst into tears? How many of us have gone from sad to tremendous joy just by listening to our favorite song? How many of us have listened to songs and thought about loved ones who have passed on? Yes, there are some artists out there who are incredibly talented. Their music isn't just music. Their music is about art and transcendence. It fills us with ecstasy and joy, and we slowly begin to fall in love with the artist simply because of how they make us feel. We love Prince. We love the Beatles. We love Michael Jackson. We love Beyonce. Now, most of us are grounded. We can separate fact from fiction, and we can separate art from the artist. Sadly, some people like Dre cannot.
I'll get delirious. You hold my hand.
Now, it's also important to understand that music that was once a healing modality is now a means to make money.
It's expensive. How much you got?
A lot.
5K each, and I do take credit card if you ain't got the cash flow.
Artists all over the world are selling out massive stadiums with sky-high ticket prices. Worse, they're getting people addicted to a certain experience. These concerts are live and exciting. The performances are action-packed with exhilarating energy that makes you feel good. These concerts are designed to stimulate virtually all of your senses and make you feel like you're on cloud 9. As a result of this, you put artisans on pedestals. You view them as being people who are larger than life simply because how they make you feel. Now, you might be thinking that there is nothing wrong with enjoying a concert here and there. And yes, that statement is true for normal people. Yet for stans and psychopaths like Dre, the sensory overload from a sold-out concert can have debilitating side effects. Let me explain. Well, sadly, Dre is broken. We learned this from the very first episode. She has this codependency relationship with her sister Marissa. Furthermore, she acts like an addict. She spends almost $4,000 on a Ni Jah concert instead of paying her own bills. Sadly, this first episode sets the tone by establishing what Dre's priorities are. Ni Jah first, Marissa second, and killing people becomes third. And once Marissa passes, killing people moves to the first place. and Dre devolves from a relatively harmless stand to a full-fledged psychopath. Now, it may seem a little far-fetched for someone to kill people simply because they don't like a certain artist.
Who's your favorite artist?
But Dre's a soldier. In her broken mind, she has to protect the illusion and the fantasy world at all costs.
And then I hit her. Again, and again, and again, and again, and guess what? Oh, I really liked it.
And let's keep in mind that this fantasy world is supplying her with an infinite amount of joy, an infinite amount of love, and even an infinite amount of ecstasy. This is something that Dre is not getting in the plain old boring world of reality. The mind is incredibly sophisticated, yet it can't tell the difference between an experience that is real from one that is imagined. It reacts all the same. So if Dre feels like she's totally in love with Ni Jah, the body starts to emit dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin. These hormonal cocktails, coupled with adrenaline that Dre feels when she kills people, puts her over the moon. To put it another way, loving Ni Jah might be her upper, and killing random folks might be her downer. There are certain moments in the series where Dre comes in touch with reality. The first is when she meets a recovering food junkie. He confesses that he used to be 380 pounds, morbidly obese. As a result, he takes extreme measures to fight off his addiction. There is absolutely no junk food in his house. Halfway through this episode, though, Dre gets him to binge eat and then locks him up in a refrigerator with a giant cake. Towards the end of this episode, Dre attacks Ni Jah during her husband's after party and starts to bite at her face, much like a food addict going on a massive binge.
Bro, did you just bite Ni Jah?
Later, she comes across a commune in the Deep South. They stage an intervention, taking Dre's phone while they try to convince her that the Swarm, Ni Jah's massive fan base, are not her friends. For the first time since Marissa's passing, Dre lets her hair down, using her real name, and confesses that yes, she has hurt people.
Are you afraid of death?
No,
Why?
because I think it's beautiful.
Why?
Because it's equal. It happens to everybody.
A Ni Jah song plays off in the distance and triggers her, and Dre runs off to go see her favorite artist at the festival. Only she is stopped by the cult sisters and has to literally run them over to get to this Ni Jah festival. Only to arrive at the festival towards the very end. Desperate, Dre goes back to her hometown of Houston, Texas. Without Marissa, or Ni Jah, or the Swarm, she feels totally alone, and she's looking for a connection. So she demands that her adopted parents reconnect Marissa's phone.
Why are you here?
Something about Marissa's phone.
Phone?
Just turn it back on.
But a disgruntled Harris chases her off, shotgun in hand as he curses and demeans a young girl who stole his daughter away and turned his life into a complete hell. This episode was supposed to reflect the harm that Dre has done not only to herself but to the victims of her family. Yet she doesn't feel any remorse. The honeymoon phase of her illusion addiction is over. Now she is no longer working to get high. She is working not to feel low. Killing is now about surviving, and having a phone and being connected to the Swarm would only be a distraction. However, there was one more person who tries to pull Dre back into reality, Rashida. She blatantly admits that she hates Ni Jah, a confession that would have gotten her killed in Dre's early days. Yet I think the one thing that saved Rashida was that she offered to love Dre as she was. She even introduced Dre to her parents, and it seemed that they were willing to give Dre the parental love that she never had. Now, this story could have ended differently, but Dre couldn't let go of the illusion. She had to pull out the Ni Jah tickets, thus choosing fantasy over real love. And thus, she became a woman lost in her own fantasy world. This was another video essay by the Modern Mystic.